Disturbing details that reveal what really went on behind the scenes on that '70s show. At the turn of the millennium, that '70s show proved one of Fox's most successful programs. Its 8-year run was a launching pad for some meteoric careers, not least those of Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis, and main protagonist Topher Grace. But it also gave birth to tragedy, as some of its stars suffered dark times. That '70s show was actually quite hard-hitting in its first season. It dealt with class and generational distrust, drug use among teens, the recession that hit America that decade, and more. At one point, the main character, Eric Foreman, was in danger of losing his home. However, as the show went on, it dropped some of the drama and went for full comedy. But there was plenty of drama going on behind the scenes. Some of it involved personal tragedies and private matters which were reported in the press. Other stories, though, are harder to hear about. There are scenes of that '70s show that you might see in a different light after learning what was happening with the actors. Perhaps you remember the story arc where Donna's mother, Midge, played by Tanya Roberts, split from her husband and abandoned her daughter. Real life necessitated that plot. Roberts' husband Barry became terminally ill with cancer, and she decided to leave her acting career behind for a while in order to care for him. In the That '70s Show episode of True Hollywood Story, which aired in 2006, the same year Barry passed away, Roberts explained it. She said, "My husband got very, very ill, and I needed the support of people who were my friends on the show. It was traumatic in a whole lot of ways." Unfortunately, that more or less brought the curtain down on the popular actress's career, although she did briefly return to That '70s Show in 2004. Since then, Roberts hasn't done much acting-wise. Her last credits are from 2005, quite a way back, when she appeared on the TV shows Eve and then Barbershop. Roberts was not the only cast member who had to leave the show for unavoidable personal reasons. During season 5, the characters find that their stoner friend Leo has gone missing. They search for him and find only a note. But the real reason Leo was gone was because actor Tommy Chong was in prison. Tommy Chong made a name for himself as half of Cheech and Chong, famously stoned comedians who lived for marijuana use. But their lifestyle was real for Chong. Come 2003, he was arrested as part of a police investigation called Operation Pipe Dreams, due to selling bongs and water pipes for drug use over the internet as part of a company he ran with his son. The actor pleaded guilty to the charge of conspiracy to distribute drug paraphernalia. Many people thought that Chong had been treated unfairly by the police just because he was famous. There was a free Tommy Chong campaign while the actor was behind bars. Many people thought his son, Paris Chong, should have been charged with the crimes instead, as he was actually the CEO of the company. Chong was sentenced to 9 months in prison plus fines. Curiously, his cellmate at the Taft Correctional Institute was Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, who inspired the movie of the same name. It was apparently Chong who suggested Belfort write his autobiography, and believe it or not, they're still friends. And on the topic of friendships, there's been some debate about whether Topher Grace, aka Eric Foreman, is still on good terms with any of that '70s show cast. He did, after all, leave the show pretty abruptly at the end of the 7th season, wishing to advance his career and move on to bigger things. Ashton Kutcher also left the show at around the same time, but he did stick around as a special guest star for a couple of episodes in order to tie up loose ends surrounding his character's plotlines. And while Kutcher always seemed to be present whenever the That '70s Show cast reunites, Grace, on the other hand, isn't. During a 2012 interview with Broadway.com, Grace claimed he is still close with the cast. And he went on, "I'm really bummed because I was in such intensive rehearsals for the play Lonely I'm Not. I didn't get to be a part of the TV show celebrating the last 25 years of Fox. Danny Masterson couldn't make it either, but the rest of the kids got together. I wish I could have been there." Yet Grace was also absent when the cast reunited again in 2016. Kutcher, Kunis, Danny Masterson, Laura Prepon, and Wilmer Valderrama gathered on set of The Ranch, a comedy fronted by Kutcher and Masterson, and there was no sign of Grace. Masterson wrote on his Instagram, "Last episode of the season, had 3 friends come by and say hello." The interviews shown on True Hollywood Stories perhaps shed a little light on the situation. Mark Houdis, the executive producer of That '70s Show, said that Grace had never been on Kutcher's show Punk'd, which kind of said something. I mean, I don't know if there's animosity, but I just know it was kind of a strange relationship. And then there's the tragic story of Lisa Robin Kelly, who played Eric's sister Lori on the show. She suffered a miscarriage, which triggered drinking problems. She explained to TV news broadcaster ABC in 2012, "I had lost a baby. As a result of that, I lost it. I lost everything and I was abusing alcohol." And the substance abuse got to be too much for the producers of that 70s show. By the end of the third season, Kelly had been written out altogether. She returned for season 5, but it didn't last. Toward the end of the show, she was replaced entirely, with Lori being played instead by Christina Moore. Kelly's downfall continued after that 70s show ended. In 2010, she was arrested for driving under the influence, a charge she admitted. Then 2 years later in 2012, she was arrested again, this time for corporal injury upon a spouse, the partner in question being her ex, John Mikas. In the ABC interview, Kelly denied that she had ever hit Mikas. She also mentioned the role she had lost, saying, "With that 70s show, I was guilty of the drinking problem and I ran. And I'm not running from this. I've paid my dues. And if I can make it through this, I can make it through anything." But sadly, she didn't. In June 2013, she was caught by law enforcement once again for another suspected DUI. She failed the sobriety test, allowing celebrity gossip sites to once again run headlines in the vein of "That 70s show actress arrested." 2 months later, Kelly checked into rehab. Kelly went to the PAX Rehab House, a treatment center in California, to try and get herself the help she needed. But just a few days after checking in, she died there. She was only 43 years old. The news hit the internet the same day it happened, with her agent Craig Wyckoff confirming she had indeed passed away. Wyckoff said in a statement released to the media, "Lisa had voluntarily checked herself into a treatment facility earlier this week where she was battling the addiction problems that have plagued her these past few years. I spoke to her on Monday and she was hopeful and confident, looking forward to putting this part of her life behind her. Last night, she lost the battle." One of Kelly's That 70s Show co-stars paid tribute to her on social media. Danny Masterson wrote on his Twitter, "Terrible, awful news. Brilliant on 70s. See you next time, LRK. Kisses. Hashtag RIP Lisa Robin Kelly, aka Lori Foreman." Many fans of the show left condolences in the replies. And Kurtwood Smith, who played Lori's father, Red Foreman, on the show, released a statement about Kelly's death. He said, "I am so sorry to hear about Lisa's passing away. I know the last 10 years have been such a difficult struggle for her, but I will always remember the lovely, funny, and very talented young lady I worked with." Kelly's cause of death wasn't given until January 2014, nearly 6 months after it happened. Her passing was an accident caused by multiple drug intoxication, although the exact drugs Kelly had taken remain a private matter. It was a very sad end for someone who'd had such success in her career at first. What happened to Kelly was horrible, but a different kind of horror story later engulfed another member of that 70s show. In 2017, as the Me Too movement was at its height, 4 women accused Danny Masterson of rape. They alleged the incidents took place in the 2000s while Masterson was still on that 70s show. The world is filled with stories going viral every single day. But how many of these sites can you actually follow? We understand that your day should start with positive stories, stories that resonate with you. And so we started JoJo Stories. Our mission is to create meaningful stories that cover everything from animals to anthropology, history to environment and lifestyle. The kind of content you read on our site will be one you'll want to share with your family and friends. We hope you'll join our growing family and be part of our community. Welcome to JoJo Stories. JoJoStories.com.